Hi guys. Hello. Who's in here? Let me see. Oh, it's my sisters and Val. Hi guys. It's my A team. That's who's in here. It's my A team. I know I'm early today. I didn't take that last phone call, so that was wonderful. Patty, it's time to go start your webinar. Go. If you guys have anything you want to talk about, go ahead and unmute yourselves. I haven't let anybody else in here. It's just us.
Yes, we wanted to know if we could ask the group for their recommendations about repair people and home repair people in our neighborhood, and they could put it in the chat.
Yeah, not,
Thank you.
not a, I'll be back.
Because of the deferment period.
We're listening to Dennis Block's presentation now. He's just answering questions.
And we got a question from Bob. And then
Yourself, I'm going to let more people in. Gotcha. All right, here we go. People are coming in. Hi, everybody. I know we're a little bit early today. I know you're just getting logged on. If you have a question, fire away. If you don't worry about it. You'll have questions before the day's over, I promise. All right, just getting everybody in here. But if you have something you want to ask up front right out of the gate, go right ahead. If not, we'll chit chat. Make myself a little bit lower here. Sorry, I'm not trying to make you sick. I'm just trying to make an adjustment. There we go. Now I don't look like I'm so short. I fill up more of the frame. How's everybody doing? Are we ready to get our houses back? I know we are. We're trying. Nobody has a question for me. That's crazy. How was everybody's Mother's Day? Mine was fabulous too. I sat on the couch, did absolutely nothing, and got a wonderful gift from some dear friends of mine. I did. And my kids asked me what I wanted to do this year. And the day before, we were at the San Bernardino County Fair. We're in charge of the fine art department. So we were doing judging day and dealing with all that. And then on Sunday, they asked me what I wanted to do. And I looked at them and said, stay in my pajamas all day, sit on the couch and watch movies. So that's what we did. It was a nice, refreshing day. I didn't have to cook. I didn't have to clean. I didn't even have to get dressed. The things that make us happy, right? I'm more excited about this summer. I'm very excited this summer. I'm going on a week backpack trip in the High Sierras. So that'll be fun. What else am I doing? I'm doing a lot of camping and fishing this summer and a big backpacking trip for a week where the donkeys are going to bring us our food in the mule train. So that's kind of neat. I need to get geared up for that. It'll be here before I know it. I think we're doing that at the end of July. Yeah, end of July. Deciding whether to sell or fix a newly vacant rental. Just wondering if your crystal ball's fixed yet. It's all going to have to do whether you want a 1031 tax exchange or are you going to be dealing with capital gains tax. That's what it boils down to, just saying. So if you're going to avoid the capital gains tax and the market's high right now, I would tell you sell, sell, sell. So you could sell, the idea is to buy low, sell high. Right now, the market's really high, so it makes sense if you have the capability of selling to do so. But for you, Val, I don't know what makes more sense for you. You're gonna have to weigh that out, whether you want to re-rent or you want to list it for sale.
Hey, Patty.
Hi, what you got today?
I'm in San Bernardino County, and I'm in San Bernardino County, and I had a move out where the tenant installed a keypad. The owner requested that it be returned back to a deadbolt. Now the front door and the back door does not match. That past tenant did not modify the locks on the back door. Can I change the tenant? I mean, can I charge the tenant to make them all the same? Okay.
They made modifications to the property without written consent of the landlord, which is a material breach of your car forms rental contract.
Yes. Thank you.
So that's how I was able to answer that so quickly, just so you guys know, I know what lease contracts they use. Because I was gonna ask, what's your rental agreement say? But I already know what their rental agreement says. I know what documents they use. So that would be a material breach of the written rental contract to make modifications to the property without written consent of the landlord. Therefore, they can take away what they've changed and charge them to put it back the way it was.
Thank you.
No problem. That was an easy question, guys. Come on. Challenge me today. I like it. Sorry, somebody's coming into our front office and I don't recognize them. So I just want to make sure there's nothing funky going on. You guys got to remember, when you're done with your tenants and you garnish their wages and you use fast evict, they show up here. Not happy, by the way. All right, still letting people in. I'd be more than happy to answer questions. I'll tell you this, for the most part, all counties other than Los Angeles County should be back to business as normal by Independence Day. LA County is going to be challenged for some time. We also have some resistance coming in from San Diego County. And as nicely as I could say this, the city of Los Angeles, we all know that the city of LA has the most restrictions. They're the most difficult for landlords. You can add the city of San Diego to that list. So city of Los Angeles, city of San Diego, same thing, okay? They're not quite as bad as LARSO yet, but they're close. They're running a close second. So keep that in mind, city of San Diego folks and my city of Los Angeles folks. Heavily concentrated areas come with heavy restrictions for landlords. It's the nicest way I could say it, but it is being quite challenging. It has been quite challenging with both city of San Diego and also city of Los Angeles. They've been a little tricky. Does anybody have any questions or something that they want to address? I will say this, for those of us that are here, if anybody is in the Sherman Oaks area or knows of a workman in the Sherman Oaks area, if you could put that information down in the chat. We have a fellow Widget's Way member that needs our help. They have had workmen in that area in Sherman Oaks, and for some reason or other, things happen and now they need more workmen. So if anybody has any handyman certified contractors in the Sherman Oaks area and would be willing to share their contact information, please put it in the chat below. We have a fellow Widget's Way member that needs help out in the Sherman Oaks area. They need some repairs done, some painting, some things of that nature. I'd say it's general move out repairs. We all know what those are like, right? So they are in need of that in the Sherman Oaks area. If you guys, anybody knows of anybody, please put that below in the bottom. And we do this for people when you get into trouble and you need a special vendor or a workman. Sometimes we can help each other out. So, and for my Sherman Oaks homeowner that needs help, I actually have a property management company in that area. So I will reach out to them and ask them if they can be of assistance. And we're letting people in, just bear with me. Okay. So I have a plan B for us to help you get the workmen you need as well. I have a property management company in that area and they should be able to give us some leads for some repairs and things of that nature. Okay. In LA County, evictions for non-payment of rent for just like the April cases and the May cases seem to be going through rather quickly. I was shocked. We're getting a lot of lockout dates now. Things are starting to fall into place. It looks like as far as the courts are going, that things are getting back to business as normal. We're not seeing those huge delays in court cases regarding COVID unless you're dealing with the COVID owed rents. If they owe you rent right now, serve them a notice just for right now. Forget all that other stuff that happened. Let's get possession, okay? Remember, the courts aren't issuing us money judgments anyway in an eviction matter. You're more than likely going to have to pursue the money that's owed to you in a small claims action. Usually right now in evictions, the courts are only issuing judgments for possession and not money judgments. So with that being said, don't be upset if you find yourself done with having to get them evicted, but then you're redoing everything to go after the money. It's just what's happening right now because of COVID. And please remember that small claims cases are unlimited. If you're asking for COVID rents, they don't cap out at the $10,000. Just trying to remind you. keep that door open. Also, your statute of limitations for a small claims case is 2 years on an oral agreement or 4 years on a written contract. So right after you evict them, you don't want to drop the hatchet sometimes. We want to wait for them to recover and then drop the hatchet. Make sense? So for me personally, you'd see a delay of 6 to 8 months before I filed a small claims case, if not longer, for that reason. I want them to recover before I come after them. Okay. Anybody have anything they want to talk about? I know next week for AGLA, I am teaching a class, I believe on the 17th. I have to look at my notes. And we're going to talk a lot about the differences between a request for reasonable accommodations versus a request for reasonable modifications. So we'll reiterate that next week on our Wednesday with Widget and get into depth and breadth if we need to. Two very important things we have in our business. One is a request for reasonable accommodations and one is modifications. And the difference there is one changes the rules, one changes the property. A modification would change the property. Example, tenant may be hard of hearing and they want flashing strobes connected to their doorbell. So it makes the light flash when their doorbell rings because they can't hear it. So that would be a request for reasonable modifications. We're changing the property based on your disability. The ex-tenant not on the land fences to modify the property based on their disability to change that way. Hold on, I saw notes down at the bottom. So let me see what everybody's talking about. I get Patty from Anna. Hi. Hold on. Deciding whether to sell. We talked about that, Val. No, my crystal ball is still broken. For Incorporated City of Huntington Park in Los Angeles County, the tenant never communicated COVID. The rent is due on May 20th. Can I serve a 30-day notice of change in terms of tenancies to cap the attorney's fees clause? Yes, you can. You can do that right now. You can always do that. Attorney's fees, rent increase, deposit increase are things you can change in LARSO, which is what you're speaking of. So yes, and then serve a 3-day notice to pay rent or quit for April. No, your dates are wrong. It would be from April 20th of 2022 through May 19th of 2022. And then you could go for the May one of May 20th, 2022 through June 19th of 2022. So it's got to be less than a month on your notice. So the way you wrote it, I get it, but if it starts on 4/20/2022, it needs to end on 5/19/2022, and then 5/20 new rent is due on 5/21. You could technically serve a 3-day notice. I hope that helps. Yes, Anna, I don't know why you put Patty. Oh, you couldn't hear me. I got you. Okay. Val, so a tenant left. They were under a previous manager, so they did not receive my strict house rules. They were heavy smokers with tons of pets, and now the house stinks and is trash. They were there 7 years. Do they get 100% of their deposit back? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Wear and tear stops counting after 3 years and after 5 years. But cigarette smoking is damage. That's damage. It wasn't damage from smoking when they moved in. So no, they don't get their deposit back. They're now responsible to pay for paint, carpet, to have the AC ducting cleared out so that smell goes away. No, they're responsible to return it to the same condition they received it in, minus wear and tear. But cigarette smoking is damage. That's not wear and tear. Okay. I hope that helped. I was frozen earlier. I hope I'm not frozen now. Can you please repeat LARSO? Can I change? Can I, 1, rent increase? No, you can't. No rent increases in LARSO. Don't do it. It's not worth the increase that you're going to get. The fact that they could cry retaliatory. Okay, so don't do an increase in RSO. I just wouldn't do it. It's not a good business practice. Let me put this in perspective for you. Let's say you raise the rent, okay? And because it's under RSO, you're only increasing the rent by like 3%, something like that, 3%, maybe it's 4%. I gotta go look, I don't know the number. But let's say your rent is $1,000 and you can only increase by 3%. You're talking about $30 a month. For $30 a month, the tenant, we don't want them to cry retaliatory later, say that their increase was related to COVID and it's retaliation. And then it causes this other issue of retaliatory. It's not worth the $30. Okay. Can I do a rent increase in LA County incorporated city? Possibly, as long as the tenant has not been affected by COVID. You absolutely cannot raise the rents in unincorporated LA County during this pandemic. They have a rent freeze on unincorporated cities until December 31st. I hope that makes sense. So unincorporated cities, you cannot do a rent increase. And pay attention, there's 144 unincorporated cities in LA County. Even Wrightwood is on there. I didn't know Wrightwood was in LA County. I mean, that's in the mountains here, but it is. And unincorporated cities cannot do a rent increase in LA County until after the first of the year. Incorporated cities in LA County could do an increase as long as the tenant wasn't affected by COVID. And the reality of that statement is we've all been affected by COVID. All of us have been affected in one way or another. We've had to buy masks. Okay, we've all been affected. Remember, affected is a term that can be easily argued by either party. Affected, it's a very broad term. Okay, I saw something else come through. Hang on. Boop, boop, boop. I'm sorry, you just said something about LARSO and the things you can change, not now necessarily. Okay, LARSO, things you can change is your attorney's fees clause. You can change your attorney's fees clause with a 30-day notice to change the terms of tenancy. Also, you can do your annual rent increase and your annual deposit increase unless there's a rent freeze. Other than that, you can't change any of the original terms of the written contract in LARSO. It's a violation of their municipality. So you better make sure all your disclosures are in there and all of your rules are in there, because you're not going to be able to change them during the tenancy unless it's mandated by law. Example, COVID, no, I'm sorry, not COVID, bed bugs became a mandated disclosure. Lead-based paint is a mandated disclosure. They are required by law. So if you have a property that's governed by LARSO and you have a new law passed, like bed bugs as an example, you are allowed to serve them that notification disclosure and not get in trouble. But as for the rest of the rules in LARSO, you can't change them. Only 3 things: the deposit, the rent, and your attorney's fees clause. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, if you're raising the rents and you're legally allowed to do that, I highly recommend that you also raise the deposit. If you're governed by a rent control ordinance, whether it be statewide with the Tenant Protection Act, or whether it be whatever you got going on, and you're limited to the increase of 8.6%, or you're limited to an increase of just the CPI for that area, which could be 3%, it could be 4%, and that's the maximum increase you can do on the rent. It's also the maximum increase you can do on the deposit. And by raising the deposits as we raise the rents, what that stops is when you have somebody in a property for 20 years and they're paying under market value on rent, and I'm sure some of you can relate to this, and then you turn and look and they have a $400 security deposit. What are you going to do with that? That doesn't cover anything. So you need to raise the deposits as you're raising the rent. It's just a good business practice, okay? And that's how that happens over time, is landlords keep raising the rents, but they're not raising the deposit too. So that's how you end up upside down that way, is you raise the rent, but you didn't increase the deposit. So you just need to do both. Whenever you raise the rent, it's a better business practice. Besides, if they don't pay it, it's could be a cause for you to do an eviction. Just saying. Okay, let me see what else we got. I thought I saw some more stuff come through the chat. If the rent freeze until December 31st, 2022, can you serve a notice on December 1st to take effect January 2023? No, I wouldn't even serve the notice until it expires, because then they can't say that it had anything to do with the moratorium or any of that. And just hear me out. Remember, it's what the other attorney can argue. So for me, I don't even want to serve the notice until I'm in the free zone, because then I can argue in court. This doesn't have anything to do with the pandemic or the protected period. I didn't even serve the notice during that time. I waited till it expired and then I served the notice. So it can't possibly be a violation of your rule. Okay, so that's how I argue that, is you're making yourself susceptible to litigation if you serve the notice prior to that changing. So I don't, because I'm going to say this to you guys, pay attention. I don't go to court unless I am rock solid on what I'm about to do. If it's questionable, I don't want to spend the money. Just saying. So with that being said, that is why I tell you that way. It's just a better business practice. It helps pull everything together. If you're increasing rents, increase your deposits too, once annually, just like you do the rent. There shouldn't be an issue. But be careful, because if you are governed by the Tenant Protection Act, you can only increase the deposit the same amount you increase the rents. So if it's 8.6 on the rent, then it's 8.6 on the deposit. Okay, I hope that made sense. I really do. Let me see what else I got here. Just wondering if I could post a notice to enter on an occupied unit for the SCEP inspection. Yes. And on the day of the inspection, the resident won't let you enter. Then the SCEP people are gonna get on them, because they're not gonna be able to do their inspection. So they're gonna start telling you what you can and can't do. And they actually are pretty consistent on helping landlords make sure their tenants allow those. Okay, I hope you got that. 12 months CPI is 7.9. I don't know which CPI you're talking about. Okay, let's see. Tony, the CPI for LA County is 7.9. I know 5% is a statewide increase. This is over 10%. Should only be 10% increase done. Yep. Statewide rent control, which is AB 1482, also known as the Tenant Protection Act. I will tell you, in San Bernardino County it's 3.6% plus the 5%. So you get 5% plus the CPI, which is 3.6%, which gives you a total for San Bernardino County as 8.6% going forward. If the CPI goes, or anything goes above 10%, it caps out at 10%. So you will never be able to do anything over 10% if you're governed by the TPA or you're governed by a rent control ordinance. I hope that makes sense, you guys. I'm really trying here. So the CPI for LA County went to 7.9%. I know 5% is statewide increase. This is over 10%. So all you're going to be able to do is 10%. That is the maximum. It caps you out. Also, I'm saying this. I got you. I got you. It took me a while. I am blonde, you guys. I'm on the same page you are. So it'll cap out at 10%. For those of us that aren't governed by this rent control ordinance, please know this. California penal code, not a civil code, a penal code. Penal code usually means there's jail time involved. California Penal Code 396 subparagraph B clearly states about price gouging in a state of emergency against landlords. So with that being said, you're more than likely not going to be able to do an increase of more than 10% ever. Because when they initiated that California Penal Code 396 subparagraph B in 2016, or maybe it was 17, don't quote me to that, but I know it was right in there. The very first thing that happened is San Diego had an outbreak of hepatitis. Sorry. It was going through my filing cabinet. Did you see my thinking caps come on? San Diego City had an outbreak of hepatitis where they actually had to go spray the parks and some common areas. It was being spread by the homeless. They had an outbreak of hepatitis. So they declared a state of emergency in that area. And California has been in a state of emergency ever since then. With fires, floods, droughts. You want me to keep going? Illness? We're always in a state of emergency for some reason or other. With that being said, I'm just going to warn you, 10% is probably the maximum cap you will ever be able to raise your rents. Even if you're not governed by the Tenant Protection Act, then you're governed by whatever controls you the most. So the state law, California Penal Code would then kick in. And let's face it, if you violate that, you guys, you could be looking at 6 months in jail and a $10,000 fine. And quite frankly, that is over the amount I'm willing to risk. Way over, because I don't look good in orange. Can they do a 60 or 90-day notice to raise rents over 10%? I kind of just explained that. There is no 60-day notice for rent increase anymore, you guys. We lost that in 2019. So pay attention. Any increase 10% or less is on a 30-day notice. Anything that is over 10% has to go on a 90-day notice. There is no 60-day anymore. And anything that Section 8 requires a 90-day notice. So anything that's federally funded or any one of those programs require a 90-day notice of rent increase, even if it is less than 10%. Even if it is a $2 rent increase, you have to give a 90-day for federally funded programs. We no longer have a 60-day notice. To serve a 30-day notice of change of terms of tenancy, do I need to serve it to everyone on the lease or just one of the tenants? One notice, all the tenants' names. And yes, you can just give it to one of the tenants, or you could post it on the door, okay? But it's got to have all the tenants' names on it. And if you're mailing a copy, you mail one copy, one envelope, all the tenants on one envelope, okay? And that's my secret trick. It's not a trick. But it saves you money in postage, it saves you time. If you have 5 people on the lease, it just helps everything. One envelope, one notice, everybody's name, okay? Don't name the children the minors, just the adults. Remember, there is a new rental increase form for rent raises. There's a new form for almost everything right now. There's a new 3-day out. It started April 1st. And basically what it says is any rents that aren't listed on this notice are not waived and will be accounted for in a separate action. Basically what that says is, although you owe it to me, I'm only asking for these months and I'm going to come sue you later for the other months of rent you owe me. That's what the new 3-day says in simple English, just so you guys know. But yes, we have new notices on a lot of things, a lot of new disclosures regarding the mold that happened on January 1st. So we have a new mold disclosure that happened this year, you guys, notifying tenants of mold in a property. Hang on, I saw something else come through. Hi, Melanie. We have a Section 8 tenant in Larso who is about to lose participation if they don't provide the required documents. We would love to get rid of them. I assume not possible. They will never be able to pay the $3,500 rent if they can't even afford the $412. If they lose their participation in the program, that would more than likely be a cause for you to do an eviction. Do you hear me stutter? I would definitely talk to your legal counsel. More than likely. I hear you, girl. I hear you. But if they lose their funding, yeah. Talk to your attorney. And you guys, I'm going to tell you this. Please listen to me, okay? Stop listening to the news. Stop calling LARSO and asking them how much you can increase the rent, okay? That's the enemy, you guys. One of my owners, I'm sorry, not one of my owners, an owner called the law firm that I work for and said, hi, I just got off the phone with Larso, and they said I'm not governed by them. So I didn't have to do their limit on rent increases, and I could actually do a maximum increase right now of 15% because I'm not governed by them. Do you look good in orange? Because the enemy just told you to do something illegal, like that you would go to jail for. Please don't take your advice on operating your investment property from the enemy. It's just bad business, okay? Okay. Single family residence, LA City, lease ends in November, no COVID issues. Can I raise rent? If so, how much? Are you in an incorporated city or an unincorporated city in LA? Because if you're in an unincorporated, you're on a rent freeze until after the first of the year. If you're in an incorporated city, then it is possible. Contact your legal counsel to verify and confirm. Okay. Okay. Val, back to smoke damage. I probably won't charge for carpets if they were past the 5-year mark. However, using TSP, et cetera, major cleaning, I will charge. My question about charging for paint since they've been there over 5 years. You can charge for paint since they've been there for over 5 years because the nicotine smoke that they used during their tenancy caused damage. That's not wear and tear. It's damage to your baseboards, it's damage to your carpet, it's damage to your heating and air system, it's damage to your paint, it's damage to your window blinds. It's all damage because they smoked in the property. If they didn't smoke in the property, they wouldn't have those expenses. See how that worked? I hope that helped you. Just to confirm, all federal subsidy properties require a 90-day notice for any rent increase. Most likely, yes. I'll tell you right now, Section 8 does. The VASH program is part of Section 8. That's Veterans Housing Assistance, and that's not the right acronym. It's just the one that came out of my blonde brain. So yes, anything that is federally funded, you have to do a 90-day notice if you're doing a rent increase. You also have to do a 90-day notice if you're terminating tenancy. Okay, I hope that sticks. Arlene, you said in LA, I don't know what that's in LA, how much you're gonna have to ask your attorney how much you can increase the rent. Because the lease ends in November, I wouldn't even raise it until after January, just because if they say they were affected, it could bite you hard. Can you run over the 90-day notice again, please? Absolutely. So when you're increasing rents, there is no more 60-day notice. It's gone. It's a 30-day notice if you want to do increase for 10% or less. Anything that's over 10% requires a 90-day notice. If you're doing a rent increase for Section 8, they require a 90-day notice. If you're terminating tenancy for Section 8, also requires a 90-day notice. I hope that helped. And yes, I know a lot of these by heart. I know it's frustrating. I'm sorry, you guys. It's all stored in my blonde brain. LA City, what if a tenant becomes disabled and can't pay rent? Can you evict? Yes. No COVID, thinking about future. Also, what is formula for deposit calculation? The deposit calculation on increasing the deposit, if that's what you're asking me, how much can you increase the deposit? If you're limited on what you can increase the rent, that's what you can increase the deposit. So example, if your rent is $500 and your deposit is $500 and you're governed by statewide rent control, the Tenant Protection Act, AB 1482, then you have a maximum in San Bernardino County of 8.6%. So you can do an increase on the rent of 8.6%, and you can do a 30-day notice of change of terms of tenancy to do an increase of 8.6% on the amount of the deposit. So if their rent's $1,000 and their deposit's $500, you can do 8.6% on the $1,000 for their rent monthly, and then you could do 8.6% on the $500 for the deposit. I hope that all made sense. I got it? Okay, we're good. I hope that formula makes sense to you guys. Sorry, I'm blonde and gray. Hey girl, we all speak the same language here. Sometimes it's overwhelming. Do you know I actually had to go ask an attorney because a landlord presented a question to me in such a way that I started doubting what I've known my whole career, and I had to go ask them, how many days do they actually have to refund a tenant's security deposit on a residential dwelling? It was the way the landlord presented it to me that it screwed me up here. And yes, I had to go back and ask. So don't ever fear that. I get it. It happens to me all the time. I am still questioning if a tenant never signed anything saying that they would not smoke, can I still charge for smoke damage? If they didn't sign anything saying that they had a dog in the property and the dog did damage, are they still responsible for that damage? The key words here are they are responsible for damages to the unit. And if smoking damaged the paint, damaged the carpeting, damaged the window coverings, then they're responsible for that damage. It's not wear and tear, it's still damage. And I get what you're saying, Val, but I'm trying to give you the other side of the fence. Damage is damage is damage all day long. And what they did by smoking in that unit caused damage. So you can charge them. If they played darts on the wall and they hung up a board, but outside the board, it looked like all these little pinpricks where the darts missed. Can you charge them? Absolutely. You can charge for damages. Okay. How do I prove that it is smoke damage? You don't have to prove it, just take a picture of it. If you're replacing carpet, keep a piece of it. Usually judges can see it makes the walls yellow. And as you start to wipe it, this yellow stuff runs down the wall. Take a picture of that too. Show that it's from nicotine damage. And see how I keep using the word nicotine damage, cigarette damage? I'm not saying from smoking. It's just damage. It's the damage from the act of smoking. And if I could give you 2 cents, I strongly recommend that you have them try to clear out your AC ducting or your forced air ducting if you have it. If you don't have it, don't worry about it. But if you do, it's one of the places the aroma tends to stay, and it's very hard to realize that you need to get rid of it there. That makes sense. I hope so. I had an owner that was extremely sensitive to cigarettes, and the tenant smoked in the property, and I had to do so much to fix that. And it was because the landlord was so sensitive, and unfortunately they moved in after the tenant. So we had to do quite a bit, and I sued in small claims and won. It's damage caused by the act of smoking. Because if it didn't damage anything, then it wouldn't be a problem, right? If they were vaping instead of smoking cigarettes, then you wouldn't have all that yuckness to clean up. So because they chose to participate in a carcinogen, then they have to pay the price for that. I mean, they could have taken a Nicorette pill every day or worn a patch inside the property and you wouldn't have these problems. That's why it's damage. And whether you told them they could smoke there or not, you didn't give them a unit that was damaged from cigarette smoke when they moved in. So they have to give you one that isn't damaged when they vacate. How are there professionals who can come certify that is good in court? I can't take picture of a smoke smell. No, you can't take pictures of a smoke smell, but you can take photos of them washing it. And when they wash it, it washes down the wall with yellow. You can also ask a professional to come out there and they will put on their invoicing that they're chasing tobacco smoke. I've actually had a tenant, you guys, I'm that property manager. So I used to have a drawer in my office called Things Found in Toilets. And basically I had this little angel figurine. Apparently it fell in the toilet as they were flushing and the tenant was like, oh no, I don't know what that is. So when the plumber came out, it had jammed in the toilet. It had wedged itself in the toilet. They actually had to break the toilet to get the angel out. So I always told my vendors, I want whatever you pull out of the toilet whether it be a marking pin, GI Joe, whatever it is, I want it. And I'd put them in a plastic bag and I'd write which house it was on and I'd put it in the drawer. That way, if the tenant ever argued with me, I'm not paying $495 for replacing the toilet. I would just go open my drawer and pull out the little bag with what I called the poop angel in it, because it was a little angel figurine and it was found in a toilet. So poop angel. Does this belong to you? Because it wasn't here before I rented you the house. So I've done that. I save pens, like writing pens. Sometimes those get flushed down toilets. Yeah, I'm that girl. I want to hold that evidence and show it. So had a tenant that had a dog that wasn't supposed to, and argued and argued and argued about the dog urine on the carpet. Well, when I had the carpet guy rip up the carpet, I actually had him take pictures of the padding and the backing to show the saturation of urine in the carpet. And I actually had him cut out a square and put it in a Ziploc. It stunk so bad, I had to put it in like 5 Ziplocs. That girl actually took me to court saying that she didn't have an animal in that house. Okay, maybe she didn't, but somebody peed on the floor. I don't care if it was 4 legs or 2 legs, somebody peed all over that floor, just saying. So regardless if it's an animal or if it's a human, they're still responsible for damages. And yes, I did bring that square of carpet to the court trial, and I advised the judge that he could open it at its own risk, that it smelled atrocious. So I did advise him, and he didn't open it, just so you know. But yeah, I'm that person. If I have proof of something, I'm going to hold that close to my vest, so to speak, and I'm not going to let that out until I'm in the proper place to do that, which would be my legal counsel or in front of a judge. But yes, I've kept things found in toilets. I mark the address, the date. I know it's weird, but I've used them to help me at a later date, and they come in handy, folks. I know it sounds ridiculous. But you never know what you're going to find with a property manager. You might find a whole drawer of things found in toilets. What are you going to do? Yes, you can have a vendor actually put that they're cleaning cigarette residue, tobacco residue, nicotine residue, any of those things. It could be marked on the invoice. You guys got to remember that although you may not be able to take a picture of it, you have a better tool than that. You have a mutual third party, not related to this case at all, telling you what's wrong on their invoice. That protects you too. Okay. If it's your workman and you're writing it, it has less clout. Paying attention? But if you hire somebody to go do it that isn't vested on either party, landlord or tenant, and they put in writing under their professional opinion what's going on, that's what helps protect you. Okay. I think you mentioned once before, if the tenant left a nail in the wall, that's normal wear and tear. Yes, it is. But if they remove the nail and now there's a hole, that's damage. Yes. What if your lease says no nails? Then you better verify that there aren't any nails or screws in the walls when they move in. Okay. Got it? So if your lease contract says no nails, no screws, or no fastening devices allowed, and you go to the move out and there's nail holes there, then you can charge for that. Absolutely. It depends on what it says in your written rental contract, right? Okay. Is it okay to charge for damage as less than 2 years old when they move? And there is both types, some holes and some nails and some adhesive strips. Okay. I'm going to try to wrap your guys' head around something. Okay. So please pay attention. And thank you for helping me address this, Anna, because you just did it spot on. Okay. Yay. She's asking me a question and I'm going to read it. What if my lease says no nails, screws, or fastening devices allowed. Is that okay to charge for damage? You just said damage. We can charge for damage all day long. We cannot charge for wear and tear. The key word there was damage. So anytime you hear the word damage, you can charge for it. If you hear wear and tear, you cannot. Understand? That's the simplest way I could explain it to you. Damage is damage is damage all day long. It's damage. You can charge for damage. You cannot charge for wear and tear. So if they smoke in the property, it causes damage to your walls, to your carpet, to your subfloor. I'm sorry, not your subfloor. That happens when they pee on the carpet. My bad. It can do your AC ducting. Okay. That's damage. If you have a dog urinating on the carpet, then you may have to replace baseboards, paint the house, seal the subfloor, replace the carpet. It's all damage. It's not wear and tear. Okay. Damage versus wear and tear. If you want to know what's wear and tear, go look up on the Department of Consumer Affairs regarding security deposit refunds. That's where it tells you what is wear and tear versus damage. But remember, damage is damage all day long, and you can charge it on a dispo all day long. It's damage. So thank you for helping me, because it's that little word that you're using that should be answering your questions. So remember that next time. If you use the word damage when you're asking the question, know that you can charge for it. If you're using the word wear and tear, you already know it's wear and tear and you can't. Okay. City of LA, is the emergency declaration the same meaning as moratorium? Yes. Okay, you got that? So City of LA, the emergency declaration is saying that there's a state of emergency within the city. A moratorium is a government agency implementing a temperamental law. I'll try again. Sorry. The city's emergency declaration has the same meaning as a moratorium. A moratorium is a temporary law issued by a municipality, meaning the powers that govern us, whether it be city, county, or state. Okay, your municipalities are what controls us. First, we have our city, then we have our county, and then we have our state. So a moratorium is a very fancy word for temporary law. And that's what we're dealing with in the city of LA. Also with the declaration, the emergency declaration, same concept. I am taking over the property from the manager, so I need to learn a lot of things. We understand, and we're all here to help you. Okay, you're not alone. Sometimes we all have great tips and tricks and things of that nature to help each other out. Welcome to our club. And please come join us in Pasadena. What Pasadena Convention Center on the sorry, you guys, a property manager just tried to call me. I'm like, nope, I'm doing my live. If you wanted to ask me a question, all you had to do was hop on Zoom and you could ask. Pasadena Convention Center, May 24th, this month. It's on a Tuesday at the Pasadena Convention Center. AGLA and the AIC Apartment Investors Club are doing their annual trade show at the Pasadena Convention Center. It is free to attend. It costs about $10 to park. It's not so bad. I mean, it's LA, you know, some places charge you $50 to park. It just depends on where you're going. I'm kidding, but you guys know. I'm teaching a class on the main stage, I believe at 3 o'clock, called How to Get More Bang for Your Buck Out of Your Attorney. Hang on, let me see. Do I need to register to go to your class? No, it's free for attending the trade show. There'll be lots of the attorneys talking as well. I believe Dennis Block is talking. I believe Michael Brennan's talking. There's all kinds of talks going on. Seismic retrofitting classes. I'm trying to remember who's on the lineup, you guys. There'll be somebody teaching a class about 1031 tax exchanges. It is the 24th of May at the Pasadena Convention Center. I believe that's on Green Street, and I don't know the address by heart, you guys. I'm sorry. But everybody will be there. I mean, they just had the first trade show that I'm aware of. AAOC did it. So the Apartment Association of Orange County. And from what I understand from some of my co-worker vendor friends in the industry is everybody was very happy to see everybody and they were obtaining as much information as they could. So I better have a lot of extra handouts is what I was told. So yes, Pasadena Convention Center, May 24th. I believe it costs $10 to park, but it is free to attend. And no, I haven't figured out how to film it yet. I think I'm gonna try to make it alive. The only problem is I won't be able, nobody's gonna be monitoring. If you guys wanna watch the trade show, nobody's gonna be monitoring the questions. So just keep that in mind. I could make it into a live and do that. It's not a bad idea. Got my mind going. I could turn that into a live, but I'm not going to be able to answer questions because I'm not going to even be looking at the screen. I'm going to be talking. So maybe I can make that work. I like the way you think. Yeah, I like the way you think. I will be there all day. Yes. Starting at 3. I think I'm coming in at 8. I think. I'm cheating. I'm getting a hotel. I'm not driving that in the morning. I think I got to be there at 7:30. So no, I'm not good driving for 3 hours and then having to get on stage and do, it just doesn't work for me. I can't do it. Maybe it's because I'm blonde. I don't know, but it's too much for me in one day to have my whole talk together, deal with the drive and the traffic, and then manning the trade show. Also, it's just way too much for me. So I usually go the day before, set up, and then stay in a hotel. So I am right there close the day of my event. Hi, Tony. And she's one of my gals. Some of you guys have nicknames and I'm sorry, but it's how I remember you. And it's usually related to your problems. Tony's nickname is the Candle Girl. And I love her. I love all you guys. A few years ago before COVID, I used to attend meetings with different federally funded programs that receive Measure H funds to assist homeless or at risk of homeless families. As a housing provider, I have guaranteed rental income, but it's short term. Yes, it is. And maybe for a year or 2 years before they transitioned into another program or were able to pay rent on their own. Then I noticed Section 8 starting to attend these meetings, which was a red flag to me. Now that what they are doing is if a tenant is in a federally funded program and the helps ends, they are placed in by the case manager from that program into the emergency Section 8 voucher program. And if they are a problem tenant, you cannot deny accepting Section 8 because they're already living in the unit and you have to fill out the paperwork. And if Section 8 is ending Section 8 aid for whatever reason, they go to these federally funded programs to pay the back rents owed to keep the tenant housed until they're transferred to that program because they are at risk of being displaced. My message got cut off. I understand, Tony, and you can unmute yourself if you want to talk about that. I know you're very well versed with LARSO. You guys, Tony's turned into her own little RSO genius. She's extremely savvy when it comes to what you can and can't do in RSO because she has quite a few investments that are governed by them. And what she's talking about with Section 8 is true. They will do a temporary, I think they call it a homelessness voucher, trying to keep them housed until they can get them in a new program. Some programs are better than others. Some programs are worse than others. And yes, I said worse than others. If people are on the verge of being homeless, there's probably a reason as to why. There's quite a few homeless programs out there. Yep, Tony, you got it. She knows. Mine was going to be Brilliant Corners that I was going to bring up, and I'll tell you guys a little bit about it. Have a low-income housing management company that works in the LA area, and they had a property and they got a new tenant that was given to them by Brilliant Corners, which is an assistive program. And I'm trying to do quotations, but it's only showing you one of my fingers, not both. Sorry, I'll stop doing that. This gentleman was introduced to the property management company by the Brilliant Corners program. Brilliant Corners paid for his first month's rent and his security deposit so that he could move in. And then they were in the process of switching him from whatever program they were on and getting him into something more permanent like Section 8 housing. Here's the problem. This homeless person was not mentally stable, and this happened several years before COVID, so I know it's not a court case anymore and I can talk about it. This particular tenant then went knocking door by door to neighboring residents, and they have this all on video is how I know. And he went knocking door to door to door until somebody opened the door to talk to him with an 11-inch butcher knife in his hand. Not mentally stable. Okay. That's all I'm going to say. You guys put all the pieces of what I just said together. And whatever's the worst thing you think of, yes, she's right. They use Brilliant Corners, St. Joseph's. There's a bunch of those programs out there. You guys need to be cautious of them. They're temporary programs until Section 8 can kick in. They usually pay your market rents or just over them. If they're paying you more than market rent, as nicely as I could say this, red flag, red flag. Why would somebody want to pay you more than you're asking for? Do I speak with a specific person at Fast Evict for a Kern County eviction? No, anybody that answers the phone should be able to assist you. And you can always ask for me, but if you call right now, I'm not going to help you. I'm not on the phones. But yeah, if you need to start an eviction in Kern County, you can always call the number for Fast Evict. If anybody needs to know, 909-889-2000. 909-889-2000. And anybody should be able to assist you. And you can always ask for me, just not right now, because you're not going to get me. I was going to say, does anybody have anything else? And then I see Jay's got a message. Let's see what you got. 90-day notice. If rent increases more than 10% per year or at a time. I'm not understanding what you're asking me. If rent increases more than 10%, you have to use a 90-day notice. They took away our 60-day notice. It doesn't exist anymore. There is no more 60-day notice of rent increase. It is gone. Gone. Disappeared. Okay, so it's either a 30-day for 10% or less, or a 90-day for anything over 10%. And if you're doing over 10%, we need to have a whole nother conversation, because you might have forgotten about price gouging during a state of emergency, which will land you 6 months in jail and a $10,000 fine. And we've been in a state of emergency since they implemented that law in 2016 or 17. I don't recall which year it was, but we've been in a state of emergency ever since then. We have fires, we have floods, we have droughts. They call a state of emergency for the drought, and bam, there went our rent increase. I mean, we've always been in a state of emergency ever since they implemented the rule. All right, anybody have anything else? And if anybody knows of any workmen, handymen, contractors in the Sherman Oaks area, please give their contact information below. We have a homeowner that is in need of a repairman, a handyman, a contractor in the Sherman Oaks area. So if anybody knows of anybody and they could put that below in the chat, it would be greatly appreciated. If not, I have a friend that owns a management company in that area and I will ask them, okay? All right, you guys. Oh, okay, Val, you got another one for me. I do not want to accept rent due to eviction and the tenant zells me money. Can I just return it quickly? If they pay the amount that you're asking them to pay for rent within the 3 days required on the notice, you have to accept it. If you don't, you're going to lose your eviction. They're going to argue that they tried to pay you, you didn't accept it, and the judge is going to say case dismissed. Okay? If they try to pay you within the 3 days, the full amount on the notice, you must accept it. If they give you a partial payment, you don't have to accept it. If they pay after the 3-day expires, you can refund the money and tell them that you're not accepting it. It's after the 3-day expired. But if it's in that 3-day period, by law, you are required to accept it. Past the 3-day expiring, you do not have to accept the funds. You can return them and tell them they were not paid within 3 days. Be careful with this though. Remember, the day you serve the notice doesn't count. The first business day, so let's say you serve a notice on a Saturday, okay? Sunday is not day one, Monday is, as long as it's not a holiday. So Monday would be day one, Tuesday, day two, Wednesday, day three, Thursday, you can start the eviction. They have until Wednesday at midnight. Okay. I saw something else. So if you're in eviction and the tenant tries to pay you, you can refund the money every time, all the time. And I'll tell you how to do it the easiest way if that happens. Yes, absolutely. You can return it. The idea of returning the rent is trying to prove to a judge that you did everything in your power to give it back. So you want to write a letter saying you're not accepting the rent at this, or you're not accepting the rent. It was after the 3-day expired. You want to send it certified mail. You want to include a check so that they have to sign the check, right? Well, to get their money back. Okay, you got me? But you want to keep all of this to show a judge, I did all this and tried to send them their money back. They wouldn't sign for the envelope. I have it right here, Your Honor. I'm prepared to give it to them. Okay, so you have to be able to prove to a judge that you did everything in your power to return those funds to them. Okay. And I return it via Zelle, would that affect my eviction? Here comes my question. Can you prove that you refunded it through Zelle? Then that will save your eviction. But you have to be able to prove that you refunded it through Zelle. Okay? But yes, that would, you could do that. We have tenants that will try to do a direct deposit or a Zelle payment the day of trial. So when they go to trial, they can say, Your Honor, I sent the owner $50. They accepted it. Oh, you have the proof? Look here, owner, I didn't know. Online payments suck, you guys. I know it's really convenient for us, but it sucks when they're used against us. And I highly recommend you use something like cozy.co, C-O. It's an online rent collection software run through apartments.com. They do a lot of advertising, but it's nice because you can shut off the portal. So whenever I was doing an eviction, I just shut off the portal so the tenant couldn't pay online. They couldn't pay any, and I shut it off and told them they had to pay in person. see how that worked. Because then I didn't have to worry about them depositing money in an account at the last minute. I just shut off their portal, served them a 3-day, and I didn't mention the portal in the 3 days. So then they call me and say, I'm trying to log on to pay and I can't. Well, no, you can't. You were served a 3-day notice. We're requiring a cashier's check or a money order. So you need to deliver that in person. Okay. On the new 3-day form, it has a line for landlord. This home is owned by one of my LLCs. I did not put this name on it. I used my management LLC. Is this 3-day valid? I suppose I will call you later. Yeah, because I have to see it. Basically, it would be however it is on title is how you want to do it. And I got to be careful what I say about LLCs. I hate LLCs. Okay? Hate them for holding title. Family trust or a living trust sometimes is a much better choice because of the statewide rent control. Remember, statewide rent control applies to how you hold title. So if you're a corporation and a corporation holds title on a single family residence exempt from everything, you may have rent control because it's a corporation. Got it? A family trust or a living trust is exempt from the statewide rent control as long as it's only one dwelling on one tax bill. So a single family residence and that's it, no other units, most likely exempt, but it depends on how the owner holds title, and that is affecting LLCs as well. I hope that explained the why. Okay, if nobody has anything else, I will see you guys next week. We have the AGLA webinar on Tuesday. So I will be live on Wednesday for you guys. If you need anything in between then, you know how to find me. I know you do because you guys hunt me down all the time. All right, you guys have a great day. And I will see you next week on Wednesday with Widget. And then we'll be at the trade show after that. Yay! All right, you guys have a good day. Thank you. If you guys need anything, let us know. If anybody can come up with a workman in the Sherman Oaks area, please let me know. I really want to help our fellow landlord get what they need. Thank you guys. Have a great week. Bye.